What's up, everybody? It's your boy True Element 78 in the building with.
This is your reigning and defending Mondo Lucha Hall of Famer, the Prince of Asgard, and the wielder of the Infinity Gauntlet, the X-Man, Xavier Mustafa.
And today is a very special day. Not only do we not have the narcissist Chris Black on the podcast today, but today we're conducting our first interview with. I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
First off, hold on. Did I just hear you say you have the Infinity Gauntlet?
The current wielder of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Man,
Hate to spoil in-game,
I
but I end up with it.
I gotta follow that. Well, let me try here. So, I represent the Dark Match Mafia, hashtag DMM. You can check that Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that. But it's your boy Skylar Reed, the best thing going.
And like I said, today is the first interview being conducted here on Saturday Night SlamCasters. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere that you get your podcast. And like he just said, you can search Dark Match Mafia or search Skylar Reed on all your social media and be sure to give him a follow. But today, Chris Black could not make the podcast. It is raining and hot here in Wisconsin. So he had a little technical difficulties with his basement. So he may pop on later on in the show. But for now, it's myself and Xavier Mustafa conducting the interview. So first things first. So Skylar, where you from?
No, see, I knew this was going to happen. I said I was only going to be on here because Chris Black was going to be on here. I don't even like y'all.
Hey.
Where am I from? So I'm from all over the place. I guess I live in Wisconsin now, but no, I lived in Canada, man. Greatest country ever. All right, no, that's only for Canadian people. Don't. The United States is the greatest country ever. But
I'm trying to pop the Canadian fans right now, right?
I did.
Pop them on.
I had to. I lived in St. John's, Newfoundland, and Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
But
and
if
you don't say Toronto, then you're not from Canada. I'm just saying.
He's a Shawn Michaels fan, despite all the Canada affiliation.
No,
and
never.
And he also likes Tory Lane over Drake. And he had Meek Mill's back in the beef.
Man, I'm old school, so that probably just went over my head. Drake is terrible. Meek Mill, I can get down with him. He's got some nice stuff every once in a while.
Now you're never gonna make it in the industry, kid. Drake has all the pull, all the swag out here.
Yeah, I know. It's sad. But I mean, that's because he follows Lil Wayne. Like, I'm Young Money, Cash Money out here, so none of this Drake stuff.
So I gotta ask a question about Canada because I'm very fascinated by Canada. So what were you doing while you're up there?
I did some wrestling, and for lack of a better way to put it, ladies, and wrestling.
So you were an escort?
I was not. Man, don't be putting my business out there. I told you how I get my money is how I get my money. Hey, can't tell nobody about under-the-table jobs like that.
So you can search Skylar Reed on eros.com. He's verified on there. He charges $3.50 an hour.
Hey, that's only for hand touching, though. Hand touching.
But so you said you were doing some wrestling up in Canada. Is that where you got your start and your training?
No, I got training from maybe a guy that we should not mention. Isn't that right, Xavier?
No.
Well, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but, did train a couple people, may not have trained a Skylar Reed.
Oh, yeah, that was my second training, though. So I went through like 3 or 4 phases of training. So I trained with a guy that is probably going to watch this, named Jeff, the notorious Jeff Briggs. Or what was it? He was Dr. D. Jeff Briggs, or I don't know, but
Dr. Death.
Dr. Death. There we go. As you can tell, Xavier knows exactly who I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
So that training was not so okay. And then I went to Canada, and I trained with a guy named Gord Glenn. He goes by Vince Austin, Newfoundland's own Vince Austin. He's a pretty well-known dude up there. Then when I went to Toronto, I was actually going to start training with Rob Fuego, which is kind of a known name because he did some stuff with TNA, I think, or something like that. And then I came back, and there may or may not have been a guy that is on the podcast right now that used to come to my shows and make fun of like everybody on the show with another person named TC Washington. And
the infamous.
So Mustafa here, he would come up to me and be like, "Hey, buddy, you got some potential. You should come train with us." And I'm like, "Man, this dude had made fun of us for 2 hours. They would pay their hard-earned money just to come in there and make fun of people." And I'm not even making this up.
Wait, we didn't come there to make fun of people. We came there to see wrestling.
No, y'all didn't.
Now, whether the wrestling was good or bad, we would comment on it. Most of the time it was bad, but there were some people there with some potential, and Mr. Skylar Reed being one of them.
They would come in and sit down front row just to make fun of people. Like, they made fun of you so loud that you were in the ring, like, hearing this stuff, going, "Man, I swear I'm going to have to get out here and fight one of these dudes." So, yeah, then I finally went over. I went over to the dark side.
Literally.
Yeah. Wow. And trained with Angel Armani and Xavier Mustafa, or Mufasa if you ask some Mondo Lucha people out there.
Mufasa.
I swear, I've been in the crowd. I know what they say. It's like they don't even know his name, do they? No.
Even Xavier eyebrows just raised, like, who calling me Mufasa?
Sometimes they'd forget that there's a T in there, like, oh.
Yeah, they do. And that was like, I don't know, that was a good 5-6 years ago.
So when did you so what got you interested in wrestling? Like, did you watch it as a kid growing up, or was it just something that you kind of fell into?
Wrestling is like almost a part of my it's part of my school curriculum. My mom and dad watched wrestling. My mom could tell you just about anybody that was in the AWA, all that stuff. So growing up, my mom used to have it on VHS tapes. And so when I get home from school, I could watch wrestling on VHS tapes. So I get nicknamed an encyclopedia by some people just because I know all this useful knowledge, I guess, about wrestling that just doesn't even make any sense. Since I've gotten older, I've lost some of it, but I can't tell you exact dates and all that stuff, but I could probably tell you matches that most people don't even know of. So yeah, basically wrestling has been in my eyes since I was I don't know, a month old. Actually, funny story, my mom had tickets when I was born to WWF. So I went to my first event before I was a month old.
That's crazy. So basically,
If you ever met his mom, she is probably the sweetest, biggest wrestling fan ever. If you ever get a chance to talk with this lady, sit down and talk with this lady. She'll tell you all about who she liked from back in the day, who she likes now. Mm-hmm. She don't even care if it could be your favorite wrestler, or she hates him. She gonna let you know she don't like him.
Yep.
So I would say that wrestling's in your blood.
She still come to some of your shows here, or is she up in Canada?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She goes to every Legacy show.
Okay. I probably seen her then.
Yeah.
She's probably
Then we ain't gonna talk about his stepdad. His
Oh,
stepdad will say whatever he want to say during the wrestling shows. He'd be like, "Kick his ass, kick his ass."
Oh, that guy. Okay, then I know
yep.
exactly who you're talking about when it comes to the Legacy Pro shows.
I was I was just watching a match that was posted on YouTube, and like he literally told me to break somebody's neck, and I was just like, "Whoa!" Like I can hear him through the video.
That's
Yeah.
great. I have a question for you, Skylar Reed. So
Uh-oh.
usually with most wrestlers, there's a particular match that like when you watch this match, you knew that you were destined to be in the wrestling business, or you knew that's why you want to be in this business. What match was that for you?
See, that's hard. I think I think you may have asked me this like some other time, and I have no idea. Like I can tell you what my favorite match is, but like a match that just made me want to get into it, I don't know.
All right, well, let me ask you, what is your favorite match and what was your favorite era of wrestling? Since you said you go back to the
Um,
AWA, NWA, WWF, WCCW.
I would say NWA, like that time frame, probably their crowds are probably the hottest crowds like ever. Um, but you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, hmm, I guess like so. My favorite match is from I believe it's '94 or '93. Nope, it's '94. So when Ric Flair came back from WWF after losing to Mr. Perfect on Monday Night Raw, he uh, he goes back to WCW, and at the time, the Hollywood Blondes were kind of starting to get their like go, and they were on Flair for the Gold and made fun of him and Arn Anderson, which they ended up having a tag match, and Anderson and Flair got to pick the stipulation. It was a 2 out of 3 fall tag team title match. It's on. It's Clash of the Champions '94. I'm pretty certain, or '93.
Clash of Champions 1993, June 16th. Ric Flair and Arn Anderson versus the Hollywood Blondes.
There we go. Then I was, yeah, that match is by far probably one of the greatest tag team matches I think I've ever seen in my whole life.
So you're a big Ric Flair and Arn Anderson fan, or the Horsemen?
I
Is that your favorite faction, and Ric Flair your favorite wrestler of all time? Then.
I'm no Ric Flair is not. I'm not a fan of Ric Flair. I am a fan of Arn Anderson.
Oh, okay, okay. It's funny. I listened to another show where they were just talking about they didn't think Arn Anderson had any fans. So that's just funny to hear you say that. So I'm sure you
Well,
had.
I
Oh
will be his #1 fan then.
no, I was gonna say.
Arn Anderson. Oh,
Go
God.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Arn Anderson holds probably one of the most funniest moments in wrestling history to me, and it was a tag match, I think it was. And so his tag team partners in there doing this thing or whatever, tags out to Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson goes like he's going to punch the guy. The guy ducks, holds his head down, and Arn Anderson gives him the DDT right away. And it's not as funny when I say it, but when you see it, it's so hilarious because it was so quick. And man, Arn Anderson is that dude.
The Revival actually steal that spot now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen them do that.
Yeah, that's why I really like them. They're really an homage to old school wrestling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's that makes a lot of sense. You saying that that's what who you were a fan of or are a fan of, and that you grew up watching old school wrestling. Because a couple podcasts ago, I put you over on the podcast where
Woohoo!
but then quickly Xavier and Mustafa buried you. But
Sounds right.
I
That sounds
digress. Um,
What?
put you over saying that I really enjoyed watching your work in the ring because of your selling ability and ability to tell a story in the ring. And your selling is old school. Like I was comparing it to like Ric Flair and different things like that when I've watched you in the ring, especially with people like Sean Priest and things like that. The way that you and him work together is very, very much more hard hitting than a lot of other people that I've watched so far in Legacy Pro, especially.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely feel every move after the Shawn Priest. Like after every match, I'm like, dude, I swear my jaw is gonna like fall off, and I'm just like the next day that I'm like, all right, I gotta ice this and ice that, and yeah.
What's funny is when I actually like put that match together, I was kind of like, I don't know how this is gonna work because David Skylar Reed doesn't really work stiff, and I was like, Sean Priest works stiff, so this is gonna be interesting. And then y'all went in and gave each other them hands, and I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah, I only work snug. I don't work stiff, but like with certain people, like Chase McCoy is one of them, where like he is full blast, straightforward. So like if I'm hitting somebody, I gotta like hit him. Who's another one? Well, Nell, obviously, Nell is super stiff. I definitely don't like getting kicked by him. Yeah. Trying
So
to think. Well, actually, Xavier Mustafa, he's pretty stiff too. So don't let him fool you. Getting chopped by him, like all of the air leaves your body. Then he hits you again, and you suck all that air back in, and then you're like, I got to get away from him because I'm gonna die.
so you said that your training has pretty much been over the past 6 years. So you've only been wrestling or getting
No,
training for over the past 6 years, or
no. It's like 10 years.
oh wow.
Okay, so originally, this is gonna sound weird too. So I have a friend that wrestles. He just came back to wrestling locally here, named Blazing Ben. So when we were in high school, he ended up. His parents got him like money to go train with Carmine, and it was for Mid American Wrestling. At like the Grand Slam USA or something like that. So I used to go in there and take bumps, but like I was probably like 15. So like I always knew how to bump and roll, but I couldn't I didn't really understand how wrestling worked until I got with Xavier and Angel, and then they broke down like, oh, you want to do this because you're doing that. So yeah, I usually say like 10 years, but like, yeah, it's been a long time. I'm old.
So over the course of those 10 years, what would you say has been the highlight of your career so far, or most memorable moment?
Oh, um, I don't know. I guess I have a bunch. Um, One, I always make a joke too. So, I was a heavyweight champion in a company called MEPW, and I put a guy over named Patrick just because of his like work ethic, and he was always there to set up, and like he was really trying. And it's funny because now he's gotten a lot better, and he's partially deaf, so he uses a hearing aid in the ring and everything. And he and I actually went out and had like a good like 5-10 minute match, and I lost the belt to him on July 4th at like a big like festival show. So that was kind of cool. Um, and then probably, which I would say is up there for like my best matches. Xavier here gave me a like a put up or kind of shut up moment, and it was against this indie darling guy named Pat Monix, uh, who's actually like a really cool dude. Um, and cheap plug, the match is on YouTube. Just putting that out there. Uh, and I wrestled him, and like I came back through the curtain, and like all these people were like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know you could do that." And I'm like, "Yeah, like I can do this all the time. Like you just gotta get me at the right moment." And I'm like, and I mean, we hit each other with like everything. It was crazy, and like there was a little comedy, a little like stiff stuff, big cool moves, and yeah, it was awesome. I'd probably say that one too.
Um, on this show or on this podcast, there's been a couple of times we've had a couple of discussions. One of them was something that Hogan had made mention to a while ago, where he was talking about, and it's similar to what's going on, or at least what the WWE currently is trying to pull with the Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch situation, where they say that sometimes you can work and work yourself into a shoot. Do you think you've had one of those moments in your career so far where you're working an angle with someone and then the lines get blurred between is this personal, or are they or are we working right now?
Um,
Pretty much, have you been in a ring
yeah,
with somebody where it was real animosity, where you guys really didn't like each other?
it wasn't that I didn't like this guy, and to this day, I'm not going to mention who he is, but I'm sure Eddie knows who I'm talking about. I mean, Xavier. Sorry about that. I totally did that one on purpose. But uh, it was actually at a Mondo Lucha show. Like we got the chance to be on like the main show, and I kind of felt like this guy like tried to hurt Nell and I, and like both of us were really like, and all we did was like one or two spots, and like we were both really sore and like hurt, and we're like, I've never really been hurt in the ring, only like one time, and to be in there with a guy for like 5 minutes and to come out and be like, I think I like broke my neck, like what is going on? Yeah, no, like I've never actually like had to shoot with anybody, but yeah, I felt that moment where like this dude was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna try to hurt these guys. Like they shouldn't be here." It was pretty messed up.
Okay, so you've gotten to travel. Sounds pretty much like around, well, not necessarily around the world, but around around North America. What's been your favorite place that you competed so far, where you spent more than like a month or whatever working?
Um, Probably Tennessee. Tennessee was pretty awesome.
Xavier, that's where you were too, right? Down in Tennessee.
Yep.
Were you guys down there at the same time, or like?
No,
No, we weren't. Actually, I didn't even knew him until I came back from Tennessee. Actually, so
That's just funny,
yeah.
just because you always mention your Tennessee days, and now he's mentioning Tennessee. So it sounds like the wrestling scene down there is still as big as it was during the territory days.
oh yeah, like these fans down in Tennessee. Like I'm going back next month. They're so into it. Like you never know. Like these people love wrestling, so like they're so into every movement or every like touch, everything that's going on. Like they're there for every move. It's nuts.
And it's always funny to me, especially now you look at like the WWE and how they have Ricochet on the main roster. And I know he's not from Tennessee, but he's from Kentucky, which is down there. And
Yeah.
to look at like his move set and different things like that, I'm like, do they pop for that down in the South? Or they like, get out of here with all that flippy stuff? We want to see you work
Well,
stiff.
I mean, there's, and that's why I like it. Is that there's a place for everything. Like there's some um, there's some places like even in Wisconsin where like there's sometimes where like a flip gets no reaction and like the dude does like 27 backflips in the air and they're like, yay. And then like there's times where like a guy slips on a banana peel and they lose their minds and you're like, all I had to do is just trip myself on the mat and now you're happy. Like
Like what?
I've literally done like 27 moves in a match. But if I go, oh, I'm going to take off my pants, they lose it. And I'm like, all I had to do is say I'm taking my pants off? Okay.
That goes back to what you were doing in Canada.
Wow.
My experience down there, they definitely enjoy the high spots, but that just can't be your only. That can't be your only thing in the ring.
Yeah.
Right. So what would you say has been the best story that you've been a part of, that you've gotten to partake in? I know
That's
not a question a lot of people get asked. So,
I guess maybe when I turned on my partner, there was parts of me that didn't want to do it, but like, so we had the Legacy Pro Wrestling tag titles, cheap plug, uh, for like I think it was like a year, and we were completely undefeated.
who was this with?
Like with Nell Dillinger.
The current
We were
Legacy Pro champion.
That's true. We were the Outcast movement, and not saying we put over the Urban Horsemen or anything in this match. Not like it's more than once or anything, but so we had like I think it was a fatal 4-way or a triple threat or something like that. I'm not even gonna say who the other team we were wrestling because you guys may get kicked off the air or something.
Who was it?
The N-words.
The N-words, yes.
That was their name.
Yeah, Acid Jazz and Jesus Bryce, I think his name is.
Are they still in the area?
Yeah. Oh, they're Chicago guys.
Okay, they still going by the name.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's funny as hell. I'm gonna have to go look them up now.
Oh, they're good dudes, man. They're really good dudes. I think Bryce is doing like some demon thing now. But yeah, so like we went from bad guys that were getting cheered to like good guys that were getting cheered. And so at the end of this match, we got, cheated by the Urban Horsemen like every other time. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Xavier Mustafa came in and like, oh, speaking of cheating and Urban Horsemen, Mr. Chris Black.
We had somebody just pop in.
I think we were wrestling Chris Black and TC, and Xavier might have hit my partner with the black hole slam or something crazy happened. And we ended up losing, but I never saw any of it. I was out on the floor fighting with probably TC or one of them, and so I came in and like I looked down at him, and we got a standing ovation, and it was really cool. And I just looked down at him and I go, "You're ready, right?" And he just looks at me and goes, "Yep." So I turn, boom, hit him really stiff because he's one of those guys where you gotta like lay it in or it doesn't even count. And like I knocked the face paint off of his face onto my knuckles, and the crowd started chanting, "Why'd you do that?" And that was one of those where it was just like, hey, like we got him. Like,
so what really led up to the turn? Like you're telling us about the match, but what led up to the turn?
He was upset he lost.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was it.
Because the Urban Horsemen, what we do is we take advantage of opportunities. And, we saw an opportunity, we took advantage of it, and we walked out as the Legacy Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champions of the world.
Oh, okay.
And, both of the owners are on the same team, so they kind of... No, I'm just like... Chris Black.
So let's go ahead and get Chris Black in here. Go ahead and let the people hear your voice for the one time.
What's going on? I apologize for being late. This is the natural Chris Black. I had a little bit of problems with the flooding. My house is jobbing to the weather.
Well, glad you're here. We're interviewing the king of the ham and eggers, Mr. Skylar Reed. So, did you have any questions lined up for him? You have anything you want to ask him?
No, just keep going. I'll jump in.
Okay.
Hey, you missed my favorite match and my favorite wrestler, Chris Black.
So basically, what we found out from him thus far is that he used to prostitute up in Canada.
No surprise there.
And he was an equal opportunist, the same way that the Urban Horsemen just said that they take advantage of the opportunities.
That makes sense.
So let's talk about the local independent scene right now in the Wisconsin area. Who do you still want to? Who do you? I want to say who you still want to work with. Who would you like to work with in this day and age here?
See, I feel like, and I mean, I haven't been around these parts as long as you all, because you guys are old. But
Ariel, get this man a golden shovel.
No, we are just seasoned.
I mean, to be honest, I felt like, and that's kind of why like I've been going to Tennessee and other places. Like I feel like I've worked just about everybody. The only person I really want to work is my buddy Ben because I haven't worked him yet. And every time we're about to work each other, someone's like, "Oh, he can't make it," or "Oh, he's not cool to be on this show," or "I can't be on his show," and it's just like. I just want to see
So a lot
how
of
much
McCoy.
so a lot of politics have been standing in the way of you getting the match that you want, essentially.
no, not McCoy. Blazing Ben. Blazing
Okay.
Ben.
Okay.
I can I shoot? Can I say that?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, you can.
So what you want to say?
Well, that person that I thought like tried to hurt me earlier that doesn't like me apparently, and I don't know why they don't like me. That person won't book me on their show. So yeah,
Oh,
which is partially Xavier Mustafa's fault, but
Damn.
we ain't gonna say nothing.
Drop
might
names
be.
where it
See,
don't count.
okay, so what happened was
Listen.
we were the tag team champions there, and then I think something happened where like I got injured or something a show, and then he got injured a show, and so we just missed a couple shows. So the particular promoter that we're talking about decided to just move on without us, which I understand. If you don't have reliable champions, you got to move on. So I think that may have been.
So basically,
I don't
you were
know,
Samoa
catalyst.
Joe. You were the Samoa Joes of this organization.
Basically.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
this stuff happens.
Well, he asked you about the local scene. I want to ask you more about the direction that you see the industry going in now. Like I mentioned earlier, like Ricochet being from the South and him having the flip gimmick and different things like that. And you said that you feel like you kind of worked everybody up here, so you're kind of going all over the place again, Wisconsin, Tennessee, and basically getting a feel for the direction that the industry is going in. Where do you see the industry headed probably in the next 5 or 10 years, especially when you see what's going on with the AEW and WWE and women of wrestling and the direction of women's wrestling out here currently?
I'm probably gonna have a very unpopular opinion. I think women's wrestling is pretty trash.
Damn. Oh, even now?
Yes.
Is it because it's just not your cup of tea, or you think there's no talent?
No, I mean there's like maybe a hand. Okay, let's just use WWE for instance, right? Like there's maybe like 5 or 6 women that can really go. And like you're like, oh man, when these people are in the ring, I'm ready to see them. Well, then they overuse those same 5 or 6, and you're just kind of like, and then they look so much better than the ones that are bad that like you basically just sit there and go, all right, I just want to see like right now, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Asuka, maybe Sasha Banks if you want to throw her in there. Bailey. Am I missing anybody? Because I think that's it, right? Oh, Alexa Bliss. I'm sorry. So there's 6, right?
Alexa Bliss is smoke and mirrors.
But I mean, at least she can give you a match, though. You know what I mean? And she can talk.
Alexa, stop.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, okay. We won't say that name. We'll say Bliss.
Yeah.
So like those 6 wrestle all the time, and then like you kind of don't even care about the rest. So
I would kind of agree with you, but I've been watching WoW, and I was going to put a poll up on our Facebook for everyone to vote if they think that we should start doing reviews of WoW, Women of Wrestling.
now,
Go ahead.
like when you go with indie wrestling, yeah, there's a bunch of girls, but then like One that I'll use, for instance, Candice LeRae, right? She just got to NXT within the last year or so. She's trying to do so many things like Johnny Gargano does, and she doesn't have the ability to do it. So it looks either slow or it looks just so rehearsed that it's like, I don't want to watch this garbage. Like, you know what I mean? Have you ever watched her wrestle? Anyone?
I've seen like 2 or 3 of her matches.
And they all look, don't they all look really rehearsed? Like she's like just going through a motion, and it's like,
Maybe she's not comfortable calling a majority of her match in the ring.
but she's like an indie darling, quote unquote. And it's like, I don't want to watch that. Like,
Well,
that's terrible.
Well,
You know?
honestly, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, it's not difficult to be an indie darling as a female wrestler because it's still very much a niche.
Yeah.
Like, I look at people like Scarlett Bordeaux, like, I think that she's serviceable in the ring. You got Tessa Blanchard out here who's crushing it right now. Jordan,
Charlotte, no, you think she's serviceable?
huh?
If she didn't look good, she'd be terrible.
No, I like her better than I can't even think of her name right now. The chick who was
Exactly.
no, she was big when she was in there, but then she said the stuff about Jay Lethal, and then she pretty much got buried after that, where nobody really talks about her no more. I don't think she's even wrestling anymore. And I can't remember her name. So, but I like Chelsea Green. I like Tessa Blanchard. But again, it's such a niche. Pretty much, if you watch WoW Women of Wrestling, pretty much anybody that's on the independent scene is in WoW right now.
Yeah. Or Shimmer.
Yeah,
The
that's
same
pretty good in
thing.
the ring. And even Shimmer, to a degree, Shimmer doesn't have all of the best talent. Like, when I say like WoW pretty much has like some of the best talent that's out there right now, they have pretty much some of the best talent that's out there right now. Shimmer still is kind of, hey, like, you're a woman, hey, you can come wrestle here.
Yeah.
So
I know it's an unpopular opinion, but
right.
like women's wrestling is not as good as
And also to your point about WWE, there are a lot of smoke and mirrors there. The women are really,
Yeah.
the women are putting a lot of tag team matches, and as you can see right now, they don't even have a viable opponent for Asuka. Like, I like Sonya Deville, but
take it back. Take it back. Mandy Rose is God's greatest creation. Come on.
I'm a bigger Sonya Deville fan.
That's her gimmick.
I think
Sonya
Deville has more to offer than Mandy Rose as far as.
Hey, don't get me wrong. When Mandy Rose comes on the TV, I'm definitely glued, but just saying.
Man, and we're gonna get into it later on.
Can I say that? Is it? Are there?
You can say it, but how about?
But I will say, wait. Can I jump in 1 second?
Go ahead.
We do have women in Wisconsin that are not bad. I'll say that. There's a couple that I could be like, all right, I would actually have fun working them. Do I want to plug them?
Anybody you want to put over?
I'm like the Urban Horseman. I don't put anybody over.
Wow.
Oh, that's not true. Was it shit on the Urban Horseman Day?
Exactly. Many people we put over all the time. All right.
Okay. Chris Black puts me over, but those other guys, no.
And now he can expect a chair shot from TC Washington at the next Legacy Pro show.
Ooh.
Right?
Everybody winced at the idea of that.
Been there, no thanks.
Take you to the Broken Skull Ranch. But so you don't want to put it over any of the females in Wisconsin?
There's a girl named I'm trying to think her gimmick name here. Vanessa
Zuri.
Yeah, she is not bad. She's really good. Like, where like you can watch her match and you're like, all right, this is pretty darn good. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
What's that? Sierra?
Yeah, Sierra. She's gonna be interviewing with us next week, actually. So
Nice. See, good thing I put her over now, right?
Yeah,
One thing I will say about those two ladies right there, that what I really like about them is they're actually good people in real life.
Yeah.
Because if you meet somebody and you think they're like a great wrestler, and then you meet them in real life and they're the most awful person ever, this kind of ruins it for you. And those two ladies have nothing but a good upside, if you ask me. I foresee them doing very well in this business.
Yeah, like I said, she's gonna be interviewing with us next week. I don't know when that episode is gonna be released, but we will be interviewing Sierra. And the thing that I really like about her, I like her work ethic in the ring. I got to meet her for a quick second at a BCW show, and like you guys said, she is a sweetheart, and her grind. Her grind is unrelenting right now. Like you look at like her schedule and the way she's traveling around, it's almost like this is her full-time gig right now. So I got a lot of respect for her out here. So you address the women. What about the men in the industry? Because a lot of people right now, the focus, it seems like, is turning more towards the women, and that the men are kind of taking a step back.
To me, like, so again, if you want to use like WWE, it's wash, rinse, repeat. So it's just the same thing over and over. Almost like how I said with the women, like they pick their like 5 or 6 and then they just keep going with it. And when you have 100 people on your roster and only 6 people are getting over, like it's got to be something wrong with the company. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we've made the argument on here before that as far as the WWE situation is, they don't want anybody getting over because they don't want anybody to feel like they're bigger than the company. Because I feel that Vince McMahon and company are jaded now to the point where we create these stars and then they leave, when that's just the natural progression of things. Like like everybody talks about the bump card. Like nobody wants to have their bump card expire on them. Like besides Ric Flair, like nobody's trying to wrestle for 40 years if they feel that they can do other things or have other opportunities. So yeah, the WWE right now, that's their current situation. Like you said, when 6 people are getting over, but I feel like no one in WWE is getting over at all anymore. And then when you look at the rest of the industry, it's being argued now that the Elite have left, like the Elite and Cody and all of those guys have left from ROH and Impact and New Japan, that now those companies are actually better than they were when those guys were there, because they were taking up a lot of TV time and a lot of the attention.
Yeah.
Again, you got to be able to spread the wealth around. Like I'm a big, proponent of rotating people in and out, because you don't want to overuse people and oversaturate, the market with the same match over and over. I mean, that's been my constant complaint about WWE, is they're booking the same people over and over until it's overkill. Yeah, they need to spread it out. They need to thin their roster a bit. I don't know, and that way you can focus on more stars and not just, everyone's got to have a match. Like this Mania, I expect to have a whole bunch of multi-man matches, because why not?
Yeah.
But really to let me home in on the question a little bit more. Do you feel that basically what do you feel about the new crop of talent that you see coming up?
They're the same as the ones that were just there, and probably not as over. So,
well, not even just WWE. I mean, out
like,
on the independent scene, like the people that you're like,
yeah,
you've been doing it for 10 years. And like,
no, like I agree. So it's exactly the same as, all right. Remember when Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, that crew came in?
Okay.
They were over right away. They put them up to the top. Now they're main event guys. So any crew that came in after them, have they gotten over at all? No, none of them. And that was what? At least 5 years ago. So every single NXT star that or any indie guy that they brought in, put him in NXT, and then shipped him up to the WWE uh, brand. None of them have gotten over, and so it'll just be the same thing until they figure out a way to start getting guys like pushed. They'll just be mid carders and first match curtain jerk guys, and it'll just be the same thing over and over.
Yeah, but like I
Like
said,
no matter how hot you are in NXT, WWE does nothing for you.
but no, what I was saying is like outside of WWE, like the people that you share the ring with, like, do you see any of these guys like not necessarily that you want to that you got to put them over on this show or whatever, but just how do you feel about the new crop of guys that are coming up? Are they more about the storytelling? Are they more about moves? Are they more about doing the flippy stuff? Or like you said, you're a fan of the old school days, and like I said, that shows in the way that you work in the ring. What are you feeling about the future of professional wrestling there? That's
See, okay, yeah, I'm a fan of old school, but like if you watch my matches now, like I can actually get away from that. Like old school wrestling, to be honest, doesn't really have a spot anymore. Like you can have a couple of old school matches where the pace is slow and like it's really like working the crowd, but you got to have some of these high speed, like it doesn't have to be high flying, but a lot of just action because people have short attention spans now.
Yeah,
and like
high impact.
yeah, they don't people can't even focus on like a TV show without picking up their phone 15 times. So like you have to give them something, and to put a guy in a chin lock for 2 to 3 minutes isn't something you can do anymore. Like I mean, you can still work the chin lock, do your stuff, but like to answer the question, like the people that are coming up now are going too fast. Like I don't know if it's just the way their trainers are pushing them through or what. Like if trainers are just taking money and just putting guys on shows, I'm not really sure. But like,
I know me and Chris Black
when,
had that argument about a local guy who he feels is going too fast, and I was like, I don't know if he was going too fast. Maybe you just losing a step because you're getting older. But
no, because Chris Black can still go. Like I can admit that from being in the ring with him. Like, and me and him talk about this all the time. Like there's these guys that come through and they want to do every move that they've ever seen on TV. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna hit you with this power slam. I'm gonna hit you with this. I'm gonna hit you with that. I know, actually, perfect example. It was a legacy show where when I first started doing singles again as like a heel, I was wrestling a bigger guy, and me and him are, we're going over some stuff, and he's like, yeah, opening, I'm gonna hit you with this, and I'm gonna give you a power slam, and then this, and that. And I'm like, no, that's not happening. And I explained to him, I go, hey, like, if you hit me with all that, I'm not getting up. And he's just like looking at me. He literally stormed away. Actually, he went and got Xavier and like kind of threw a fit. Like he literally threw a fit. I will remember this. And so
he went and told on you.
Yeah, he went and told on me.
He tattled.
I won't say his name, but he was a bigger guy.
His name was Tekashi 6ix9ine.
No.
Again, say names or it didn't happen.
Say names?
You ain't got to.
You don't have to.
I was thinking about it. But so then like we both explained it to him, and it was funny because now it came from the promoter now like saying to him like, hey, you can't hit a power slam and a power bomb and all this stuff in the opening sequence.
Yeah, not just
him to go,
not just a
for
promoter,
him to,
but a trainer as well. Like that, that's not good storytelling.
Then he apologized to me, and we actually went out and had a good match. And like I was just like in my head, I'm like, dang, like why does everybody want to do 37 moves? You know how many wrestling moves I have? I have like 4, and that's it. I can wrestle 20 minutes with the 4 moves.
Come on, man. You got one less than John Cena. You got to at least get 6. He at least added the punch.
All right, wait here. I'll let you guys mingle amongst yourselves, and I'll actually sit here and count if you want.
No, you ain't got to pull a Chris Jericho. I know you're from Canada, but you don't have to name all the moves.
1,004 moves, man. I got 1,004.
But so you see the industry right now where there's a lot of guys coming up, and basically in a roundabout way you kind of address that they're not about telling a story in the ring, they're about just getting their shit off basically.
Yeah, and on top of getting their moves in, like the older guys and the older promoters and stuff like that don't want that. So you have this weird power struggle that like they're just butting heads against each other. And sometimes the matches look good, sometimes they look like garbage because guys aren't even trained to hit like a bump yet. But a trainer will be like, "Oh, that guy can hit 7 backflips in a row. Let's get him in the ring." And it's like, you can't put the guy in the ring if he doesn't even know how to put on a headlock properly. You know what I mean?
So this is why Armani always says the marks are in the ring. You got the guys that all they want to do is whether they go over or not. They just want to get all their shit in.
Yeah.
But with me, it's just like, okay, if I know I'm going over, you can hit me with every move you got, but that's just going to do nothing. That's going to make me look like gold.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it, and I'm still going to win.
I always look at it. Kind of like as a challenge. Let's say I want to have a match and I do want to get my shit in. All right, but get your shit in and make it make sense. You ain't got to get your shit in and open a spot where you ain't got nothing no more, and then the person kicks out of it. Then what? You just lost the match already because you just hit your opponent with your best stuff and he kicked out of it. So now what you gonna do?
Exactly.
See, but that's the sad part though. Like how Chris Black said, like the promoters are the ones that are letting these guys get away with it though. Like either they're not watching the guy's match or the trainer that trains these guys goes, "Oh, this guy is ready because he has a look." And a perfect example, there's a guy that Armani trained that like he could not do a headlock, a tackle drop down spot to save his life, but since he can hit 17 backflips, he's in matches. And it's like, how is that fair? You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm sure we all know who I'm talking about too. You know.
I don't know.
I think I do, but we'll talk off camera.
He's probably
I'm thinking 17 backflips. Who's that?
He's probably thinking of Austin Aries.
We don't mention that dude on this podcast.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I was gonna say there's a guy that I know that doesn't really like Austin Aries. They don't get along.
Well, we know we got one on this podcast, and he issued a challenge.
I'm about to say, and his name is Xavier Mustafa.
so speaking of little babies, didn't you have one not too long ago? Would you like to talk about being a first-time dad?
Oh man.
Unless you want to count your illegitimate children, but
now I'm on the spot. If they're in Canada, they got free health care. I don't even need to be on that.
They don't count because it's a different country.
Nope. All right. So my wife has a black belt in Hapkido, so don't be telling her crazy stuff. I'll try to go to sleep and get choked out or something. I'll wake up in like 2 days. But yeah, I had a little person. He is a junior. We can call him Skylar Jr. That's kind of cool. He doesn't even know his name yet, so it's all right. He's actually pretty cool, though. He's cooler than all the other babies. I'm going to put that out there. Just put that out there. I can prove this because we went to the museum the other day, right? And we were there probably, I don't know, like 5 or 6 hours. You know, it was a free day. So I was like, heck yeah, let's go. He did not cry around any of these babies. Matter of fact, he fell asleep and had a good time. And other babies were crying in front of him, and he just stared at them like, what are these babies doing? I don't even know what this is. Like, he never cries. It's awesome.
Awesome.
Oh, and he loves 2 or 3 things. So he loves Winnie the Pooh because that's my wife's fault. She's a jerk. 2, he loves wrestling. Like if I put wrestling on, he'll sit there and like laugh and just have a good time. And 3, he loves bowling. Yeah, we watch bowling on TV all the time. He has a good time.
Oh my God! Next to golf, bowling is
Yeah, I was about to say, man, you live a very different life. You sit and watch bowling.
Have you never watched Jason Belmonte and his two-handed release?
I've watched bowling. I got friends who are trying to become professional bowlers. Do you bowl? What do you like to do outside of wrestling?
I have an amazing average. First off, I was actually trying to go pro at one time.
What's your average?
My stats are online.
430?
My stats are, huh?
430.
430. What? Now I'm confused.
Let's say there's already a guy that does the bowling gimmick, so
There is?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he's still around, but Kingpin, yeah, there's a guy who has a bowling gimmick.
Wow. Well, no, I mean, if y'all ever want to go bowling, you just let me know. I got 2 balls in the car right now. We can get down.
I'm not gonna touch that joke. Anybody else want?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that one alone.
The wife was like, "You better not take them balls in that house."
No, I got
leave your balls outside. You lucky I'm letting you take these balls out the house.
Jeez.
And they probably black and blue. But
So I'm not gonna lie.
You're not gonna
I'm very fascinated on what's going on by Chris Black.
Yeah, I know. He keeps like popping in
I
and
just
popping
seen-
out.
I just seen like a whole tour of his house.
He's giving us the blueprints.
His MTV Cribs over at Chris Black's house right now.
Right?
Doing an interview.
And he just got lined up, his glasses on. I'm like, what? What's going on over there?
He's trying to go up to Canada to take your job. He's trying to fill in your the void you left up there.
No, you can't say that. Because Chris Black he's a family man. You can't say you're gonna get him in trouble.
He
Don't
ain't got no family in Canada.
Exactly.
That's only legal in the United States. You can't go
So,
back.
David,
You can't go back to Canada because they'll track you down.
That's true.
So, David, I got a question for you. How would you feel if Skylar Reed Jr. wanted to be in the business?
I could teach him things beforehand, so I'd be okay with it.
What if he wanted to have the Joey Ryan gimmick?
Wow. Nah.
You know what? I'm beginning to appreciate that gimmick just a little bit.
I'm beginning to appreciate the gimmick. Actually, Skylar Reed made me appreciate it more when he was talking about people who want to move too fast in the ring. I'm like, for as absurd as the dick flip is, it's still old school. This is just
it's no different than the 5-knuckle shuffle or the people's elbow or anything else. It's a gimmick move and it's over. So
right.
There's a spot that he just recently did that showed up online, and he's wrestling this bigger guy. And the guy goes, I think he went in for a splash. He took his straps down.
Oh, I know what you're
went in
talking
for
about.
a splash. Joey Ryan pulls out the sucker, goes to try to put it in the dude's mouth. The guy blocks it. He cuts him off, throws him to the ring, misses the splash. He takes the thing and sticks it up his butt.
Wow.
So he's selling the popsicle. He's selling the sucker going up his butt. Joey Ryan goes, pulls it out. He sells that. The guy turns around. He sticks it in his mouth.
Yeah, I've seen him pull about 3 of them suckers out his drawers during the match. I'm just like, wait a minute.
Right. First of all, I'm a germaphobe, so you can pull it out your drawers, put it in your mouth. Now you're trying to put it in my mouth. I'll stop you from putting it in my mouth. You put it in my butt and then put it in my mouth.
What do you think?
Lord, what is this conversation?
What do you think? What do you think is worse, that spot, taking that spot, or the Priscilla Kelly tampon spot?
I would want no parts of that.
I'll take neither.
So
Skylar Reed, tell us the worst spot in wrestling you've been a part of.
The worst spot?
There has to be one ridiculous spot that when you got done with it, you was like, why did I do that?
Yeah, I know. I think it was either Chris Black or Xavier Mustafa. One of them, their worst spot was a chair shot that they took from TC Washington.
Oh, jeez. Yeah,
that'd be Mr. Mustafa.
He's still feeling the effects to this day.
I mean, there was one that I did that was awesome, but like I've never really done anything that I'm like, nah. Like so here's one. So it was a fatal four way. It was me, Xavier, Mustafa, uh, Devin August, and the Pitbull, Zach McGuire, hashtag DMM. But so I said I wanted to be silly that day, and I came up with this idea. And at first, Xavier was like, "No, that's stupid. I don't want to do that." And then he came along with it and was like, "All right, fine, let's do this. But if we're gonna do this, we got to do it right." So now he and I are sitting there like trying to figure out how we're gonna get this to go. And we so I got low blowed by accident or something. Then the next guy came, low blowed somebody. Then the next guy came, low blowed that guy. He tried then to low blow the referee, and the referee blocked it, low blowed him, and then I low blowed the referee from behind, so nobody could get disqualified because he didn't see it.
Why do I remember this spot?
And then so we're all on the ground, including the referee, selling, our lower extremity.
As the crowd is chanting, "Dicks, dicks, dicks,
No,
dicks."
no. They said no more, and then said that. Yes.
Down with the patriarchy.
And that was one where, like, I'm sitting there just like, wow, this is over. How did this get over? and I'm just sitting there like, this is so dumb, but it worked. Yeah, it was good times.
Yeah, that was actually a tag match. When you brought up four-way, I thought you were talking about that awful four-way we had for that one show. I think we were in. No, we weren't in West Bend. Where were we? We're kind of by Slinger. Yeah, it was a tag match, and it was me and DJ versus you and Zach, and then we did a fatal four-way at a show where we just totally went from the comeback, like right to the finish by accident. Because I don't know if somebody didn't kick out or something. I can't even remember. But the match went over and we were all looking at each other all awkward, like, what just happened? Okay, I won. All right.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. Somebody did, like, no. The referee counted to 3, and like the guy clearly kicked out. Like, and so we're all looking down, like, why did he slap? And then the referee turned around and called the match, and we're just looking at each other like, "What are you doing?" Like, oh yeah, he was a jerk.
So, question for you: we asked about your junior, and we asked about like your parents and everything as far as you wrestling. How does your wife feel about it?
So my wife did not know what wrestling was at first. And I say this with like 100% confidence. My wife knows more about the wrestling business than most of the guys in the ring. Like, she could probably call a better match because because I tell her about stuff all the time, and she's been at shows for I don't know how long now, handful of years. And on top of that, she gets the fan angle because she's sitting in the crowd. So like you know how I was talking about the guys just doing too much and not knowing what they're doing or why they're doing it? Like, she's one of those people that could tell you, like, oh, this match didn't go well because A, B, and C. And then you'll be sitting there going, wow, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, she's cool with it now, but yeah, it kind of gets on her nerves when she watches the whole show and she's like, oh, this was bad. This was bad.
This was a waste of my time, basically, is what she's saying.
Yeah.
So how much longer do you see yourself being able to do this or wanting to do this?
Once I get the Legacy Pro title, then I'm going to quit.
As soon as you get it, you're just going to hand it over to Vacant, who's undefeated?
I'm just gonna turn around and be like, I'm going to start using shoot names and everything. And I'm going to do a shoot promo, and then I'm going to throw the belt. into the crowd. And I'm just going to drop the mic and walk off.
So Xavier and Mustafa just decided you're never winning that belt. You won't even sniff that belt.
Yep.
I'm penciling in right now for 2042.
Yep.
So we see other federations popping up and everything. What are your thoughts on AEW and their potential success? For success.
Meh, I guess.
Meh?
Yeah.
Maybe a better way. How about this? A lot of people argue currently if there's a wrestling boom or if wrestling is on the decline. What do you think?
So, like, to go back to your all elite or whatever, the only reason they're going to work out is because there's no major company in the South right now. Like, you have PWG out west and like some of those other California-based companies. You have Ring of Honor in the East. You have like AAW in Chicago and those companies. And like there's really no like big promotion in the South except NXT. So they'll get a lot of the indie like crowd, but for them to think they're gonna like do any business, like big business,
That's an angle that I hadn't really heard anybody come at that where they basically thought of that. So that's a unique way of looking at it, that they're really only up against NXT. Like, no, Impact was down there before they moved to Canada, but Impact was on the Universal Studios lot, so you had to go to Universal Studios to even be able to get in there, and the tickets were free once you got in Universal Studios. But that's also an interesting, not necessarily interesting dynamic, because, like I said, you had to pay to get in Universal Studios to go attend a show for free. A lot of people going to Universal Studios may not have been wrestling fans, so
right?
And they're just in the crowd because it's free. So, yeah, that's an interesting take. So, yeah, that could help them or it could hurt them at the same time.
I mean, it's not going to hurt them. I mean, they're probably going to make money, but it's not going to do anything for like the wrestling business as a whole. They're already guys that people watch all the time. So there's not going to be too many like, original matches, because if you're an indie fan, you've probably seen these indie matches like 20 times. So once they start doing storylines and angles like that, what can they really do, that hasn't been done already?
Yeah, but there are a new crop of there is a new crop of talent coming up. Right now they're getting a lot of the big names, and like you said, a lot of those matches you may have seen before. On this show, we actually had the argument about, will fans follow people just because they have a name? Like, we know Dean Ambrose is supposedly leaving WWE. If he were to get picked up by AEW, how much does he move the needle for AEW? And my argument was that he doesn't move it much, because fans are fickle, and if they don't have easy access to view you on a weekly basis, they're either going to forget about you or they'll catch you whenever they can. But they're not going to actively switch the channel over to AEW to see you.
They'll forget all about you. So, like, I know Xavier was talking about how my mom's a wrestling fan, right? My mom has no idea what indie wrestling is. She doesn't want to know. Like, she'll watch Ring of Honor every once in a while, but it's like, oh, yeah, I just saw, that one guy that was in WWE before. And that's it. Like, she doesn't try to remember their names or anything like that. Like, and I usually use her as, like, your regular wrestling WWE fan. Like, a good half of them have no idea what indie wrestling. They don't even know what NXT is. Like,
right, you can see that just with the call-ups that WWE has had over the past several weeks.
Like, a perfect example, I was watching the pay-per-view with my wife's mom, and Mustafa Ali comes out, and she goes, "Who the heck is that guy?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, he's been doing his thing for a little bit." She's like, "Oh, why would I watch him? What's special about him?" And I'm like, his entrance gear?
Actually, it was funny when I watched that paper. When I watched Fastlane and Xavier, I mean, not Xavier Mustafa, but Mustafa Ali came out. I was looking at him, I'm like, He just looks like an independent wrestler.
Yeah.
He came out to no pop, no nothing. Like I was just like, ooh, this is bad.
Because we want Kofi. But
And then to have them chant "We want Kofi" afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh, hurtful.
If
But-
I was Mustafa Ali, I'd be like, I don't even want this spot tonight.
yeah, I think, but I thought it was impressive to watch that match. It was a testament to how good Daniel Bryan is, not necessarily Mustafa Ali, and I don't want to necessarily take anything away from him, but by the end of the match, they did have the crowd back into the match and not necessarily chanting for Kofi Kingston anymore, so I thought that was pretty impressive. But yeah, back to what the people you were watching the pay-per-view with were saying is like, he looks like generic wrestler number 1 or number 2, and that's kind of the way WWE has been treating a lot of these NXT call-ups. Like, hey, you want to go out there and be the guardian of the independent scene, as Triple H put it?
Yeah. And like that's the thing though, is like when these NXT guys come up, yeah, they push them and they do their thing, but it's like in a small crowd, that Aleister Black entrance where he like sits up and everything
He has the
looks
best
really
entrance.
cool
Yeah,
in NXT, but in WWE it looks dumb.
It looks cool on WWE to me because it takes me back to Gangrel, so I don't know.
But on the WWE broadcast though, you can see the whole back thing that lifts them up. Like, so it's like, oh, they're not even trying to hide it. It's
Okay,
like,
the thing is with NXT, they also just kind of bring these guys up like, look who we have here.
Yeah.
Aleister Black. It's like, okay, but who is this guy? There's no introduction. There's no build-up. It's just, boom, here he is.
yep.
Don't you love him?
Well, yeah, that's a problem with WWE commentary.
But they gave these guys vignettes and stuff.
No,
My thing,
they
if you don't do a super cool flippy dippy move, nobody cares.
no, they didn't.
But
They didn't do vignettes for Aleister Black. They didn't do vignettes for Ricochet.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
They did more.
They did entrance. They did a video package
Oh, yeah,
where it was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
this is Aleister.
video
and-
package is not a vignette, though.
Well, yeah.
What
But,
I
like,
mean,
they did-
what I mean is the difference between they pretty much had 8 call-ups in the span of 2 months. The first call-ups, they had vignettes that ran every week. Aleister Black, Ricochet, Tommaso Ciampa, and Johnny Gargano, they got a little preview of them before they actually walked into the ring. So that's not
Which was-
Lars Sullivan received a way more build, even though he hasn't done shit.
and also
Yeah.
and Lars Sullivan, as far as vignettes go, he had the best one that actually showed how destructive and powerful and a force of nature he was supposed to be. EC3 was shown taking off a dress shirt to reveal some tights. Lacey Evans was just touted as the first lady of WWE or whatever the hell it was. Now they've changed her gimmick to the sassy Southern Belle. Like, they're bringing people up with no direction and not allowing people to work maybe what they were working on the independent scene that was working for them, or not giving them enough time to develop a new character in WWE.
They give them the time. Like, you have to do that in the ring. Like, when people see Aleister Black, like, to be honest,
They stripped
He
Aleister
should-
Black of what he was, though, in NXT. Like, Aleister Black should not be talking every week. He should not be tag teaming with Ricochet.
but he was also talking in NXT, and my idea was he should have never said a word.
Same
They
thing
should
with
have given
Ember
him a
Moon.
manager.
He also doesn't need to be a face.
That's
Nope.
what I'm saying.
That's just me.
He shouldn't be tagging with Ricochet and doing the things that he's doing. He's supposed to be a dark, brooding character. I didn't have a problem with him speaking in NXT because he still spoke to what his character was. The things that they
I
have these
did.
guys doing currently. The main person in NXT I had a problem with talking, Ember Moon, should have never spoke.
Oh,
Ember Moon.
she's another one.
And I think Ember Moon is probably, like, how you talk about those top 5 that they have. She could easily be in that top 5 if given the opportunities.
Nope.
You're not a fan?
Now this is my first disagreement with you on this whole show. Like, I'm sorry, but
She's overrated?
She's one of those. She's like, you know how I was talking about Candice LeRae, where she moves too fast and it means nothing. That's Ember Moon. Ember Moon has a cool finisher, but like none of her moves matter. Like, even when she was in NXT, like, she just wrestled this super fast pace. She rarely ever sells. And if she does sell, she sells like she died. And it's like, you just got super kicked. Why are you dying now? Like, and she dies on every single sell. And it's like, no, that girl is not. She's cool to look at and all that stuff. She does cool moves, but she's just like every other indie darling. Just moving too fast, doesn't know the pace. Like, yeah, I can't watch her. She's my wife's favorite person. I cannot stand her.
So,
Damn, who do you like?
Well, woman-wise, I already told you Mandy Rose, but I can watch Mandy Rose all day.
Are you being serious?
I'm just talking about looking at her. I don't even,
Oh,
I don't even notice if
okay.
she wrestles or not. I'm gonna be honest. I'm nearly Corey Graves at my house when Mandy Rose comes out. I'd be like, I shush my wife and everything. I'd be like, hold on. I don't even know what you're talking about over there, but I need to see Mandy. Let's get it.
I had another question for you, and now it just popped out of my head just as quick because now I'm thinking about Mandy Rose.
See?
All right, so I got a question for you, Mrs. Skylar Reed. It's kind of a twofold question. So, talking about all the rookies that are coming up in the Wisconsin area, and I guess you could say all of the rookies coming up in the NXT. You know, we got guys like the debuting Albert Hardy Jr. You got people like what's the dude that does the Jersey Shore gimmick in TNA? Robbie E coming up in NXT and stuff like that. In both scenes, who would you tell people to keep their eye out for? Who's caught your eye that you're watching? Like, I'm gonna see how this develops.
In Wisconsin, can I pick a referee?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Perch. Perch is like my favorite person. Now that TJ Ace does not referee anymore, Perch is the man. Like,
Perch be promoting the shit out of himself. I give him props.
Yes. Like, and I was just at a show in Green Bay, and he just showed up, and then he's on the card as a referee, and I'm like, this dude is doing it right. Like, he is literally paying dues, which I feel like nobody pays dues anymore, but that could just be me as a old person now.
That was something I was
lugging rings up and down stairs for 5 years, and yeah, but those are bad memories. But like, Perch is one of those guys that literally he does it every single time.
That was kind of something I was getting at earlier when I was asking you about the state of the industry, where are people about moves? Are people feeling more entitled that they just deserve a spot because
people think they deserve a spot because their trainers or their promoters give them that, like, give them the okay. They don't stop them. Like, I feel like if anytime I know this personally because he's on here with us, anytime I spoke out of turn and I was all big-headed and stuff, Xavier Mustafa would be like, you ain't nobody, so what you gotta say? and then TC would let you know too. He'd just be like, but you still on the same show that I'm on, and then I'd just be like, yeah, you're right. And like Armani, same thing. Armani would tell you how garbage you were as soon as it happened. Like, you could be in a match with Angel Armani and you mess something up, he will call you out in the match and tell you you're garbage. And you just be like, dang, I really am.
You know, this is one of the things, like, I'm gonna say about you. Like, for a long time, I really struggled with trying to find ways to kind of motivate you, because I felt like anytime I said anything, I felt like you had like a comeback for it, and I was like, all right, how can I get this guy to see what I see and do what I need him to do? And eventually, and I don't know what happened, probably about a year and a half ago or something like that, something just clicked. I don't know if it was because we just left you alone, or what, but all of a sudden just something has just clicked and you have been on fire at least for the last year and a half, 2 years. What do you think changed to do? Because I see it happen with wrestlers all the time. It's happened with me where all of a sudden something in my head will just click and then things will just start coming naturally and more smoother and stuff like that. What happened with you that made you elevate your game to what it is now?
It's gonna sound weird. Yeah, I can't remember who asked me this, but somebody asked me this too, and it might have been you. But like, I think, and it might sound like a kind of a jerk like thing to say, but I think I just wanted to prove people wrong. Like, it goes back to like the whole comment I made earlier, where like you have trainers and promoters and stuff like that, just like putting guys on shows because they have a look, but they can't even do a headlock, you know, or putting a guy on the show because he can do 7 backflips, but he can't put an armbar on properly. And I was just like, man, I can do all this stuff in my sleep. You know what? Just give me anybody, and now I'm gonna go out here and be like, see, I am way like better than you think. I just don't do it. I think it was more like me just kind of just being like, all right, you sit there and watch me, and now let me show you. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Like, everywhere I go, there's always a guy on the show where I could just be like, this guy can't do a tackle drop down, or can't call a tackle drop down, or can't, you know, call a match, but he looks like $1 million, so he's on the show. And I'm just like, well, I guess there's a spot for everybody. So now I'm kind of like, let me just go out there and do some stuff and just be awesome. And now it's just all in my own head, like, do whatever I want to do and not really care, you know?
So for you,
I think.
go ahead, Xavier.
I would say probably the best takeaway for any like up and coming independent wrestlers out there is, you know, no matter what's going on the show, you got to put your best foot forward. And I think that's probably like the thing that's really happened with you is, yeah, okay, all this other stuff is going on, but you know, you kind of got to be selfish a little bit, but not be selfish.
Yeah.
And I think you got a little selfish, like, you know what? I don't care what else is going on the show. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna have the best match that I can because I want to and because I can.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. I like that.
It's almost like what Kofi Kingston said on SmackDown this week. Basically, I'm always ready to go, but I'm always getting looked over. And what do I got to do to where I'm not getting looked over anymore?
You want to hear something? You want to hear something funny?
What?
I had that exact conversation with Xavier, Mustafa, my wife, and TC Washington at a kitchen table. Literally, I said those exact words. Like, what do I got to do? And then they were like, well, we gonna put you against this person, and we gonna see what happens. And I guess it's like, and I'm glad you've seen it too, where it's just like, all right, we gonna throw this guy at you, and that guy at you, and this guy at you. All right, let's see what you got. And so like that, and I think that might have been the motivation too, is like someone going, all right, well, we don't believe you can do it. So what you gonna do? And then I'm like, all right, well, I gotta go out there and do it now, you know?
All right. Well, I think that's actually...
I'm the Kofi Kingston of Legacy Pro Wrestling. That's
I thought that was TW3.
I'm not even gonna make a comment.
But
out the window.
I think that's a great place for us to end, unless Xavier Mustafa or Chris Black got any final questions for you.
I do not.
Man, I was hoping for some like hard questions, like,
well, like define hard.
How many baby mamas I got, or something like that. I don't know.
We did ask you that. You said you ain't know.
Well, we know they all up in Canada, none here in the States for their protection against your current wife.
All my exes live across the border, not in Texas.
Or what about like who would I want to work in Legacy Pro Wrestling?
I thought you answered that.
Nah.
Oh,
No.
I thought you said you wanted to work Bush.
Well, listen, I've got a question to kind of, you know, maybe it ends it, maybe it spurs off more conversation. But so, like, what is your wrestling like? What are your wrestling goals? Like, do you wish to ultimately end up in WWE? Do you want to go to Japan? Like, what is your personal wrestling goals?
And your mic
So
sounds ridiculous.
no,
Does
I
it?
heard him. I heard him. So I have like it's three goals, but they're all kind of the same. Like I want to travel, but I want to go to Europe. I don't want to go to Japan. I mean, I'll go to Japan, but like I kind of want to wrestle in like the UK, just because I feel like my style it kind of
European.
works that way. Um, Two, I guess it's gonna sound funny. Uh, I want to be the big fish in the small pond, if that makes sense. And three, I just want to be known on the indie scene. Like I don't even want to be like some WWE superstar or NXT guy. I just want to be one of those guys where like someone's like, "Oh shoot, Skylar's on here." I mean, I get that in Wisconsin enough where like people go, "Oh man, yeah, I seen you were gonna be here." Not like I was gonna come, and like that's cool. But like, I just want to be one of those guys where like I can go other places and just work, where it's not just like Wisconsin.
Yeah, the big fish in a small pond. That's very difficult to do because that's almost like what we were talking about earlier with the WWE holds their superstars back now because they don't want them to be bigger than the company that they work for.
Yeah, that that happens a lot.
Like the last,
That actually,
I would say Cody Rhodes had that when he was with Impact or whatever. He was a big fish in a small pond. Some people may view it differently, but if you look at what he's been able to do since leaving there, he has a name for himself and he has a lot of eyes on him.
I mean, I guess I just want to be that guy in Wisconsin now. Like, and I'm starting to like get there because like other promoters are asking me to just come to their show to be like on the show and like, oh hey, I want to book you here and there and this place and that place. And some I have to say no just because I just can't go.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like the concept of
Or
being able to just say no to shows. Like, hey,
yeah,
I'm booked
and
up.
I mean I
Or,
have that, but I also don't want to go to shows and just be like the opening match guy. You
right,
know what I mean?
right,
Like,
because Chris Black says it on the show a lot. Like independent wrestlers are whores. Like a lot of them just
yeah,
jump at any opportunity because they're like, I don't know the next time I'm gonna get booked. I got to do the show.
Right.
I got to take whatever they're
nope.
gonna pay me. I'm gonna take.
See,
I got to take whatever they're not gonna pay me or whatever. So you want to get to the point where you're able to just comfortably say, nah, I'll pass on that.
oh no, I have that. I know it's gonna sound like cocky, but I kind of have that now. It's like there's some times where I just don't want to wrestle. Like, and people will be like, "Oh, come do this show," or like, I mean, even though he's like here right now, but like if someone was like, so the next Legacy show is April 20th, right? If somebody was like, "Oh, you know, oh, I have this show April 20th," I would always ask like Eddie or him, TC, and Armani first and be like, "Hey, when's your next show?" Because like I feel like those shows get to go first no matter what.
Right.
Um, and and that's why I'm kind of like happy I can go to Tennessee now, where like a promoter is just like, "Hey, come on down. Like I need you down here again," or like, I had a promoter that just was like, "Yeah, hey, I liked your match at Legacy. I need you on my show." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And like, yeah, there's some places I get to say no to just because, to be honest, I don't really like the locker room at certain places. Like, I'll see who's on the card, and I'm like, "Ooh, that's not for me." Like,
Get so big to where that promoter you said that doesn't want to book you for their shows is banging down your door now.
yes, and that's what I mean by small or big fish, small pond. Like, I don't want to be like the main event guy on every show, but like I just want to know that certain promoters that I'm not cool with are like, dang,
Your show ain't
why is
shit
that
without
guy?
me.
Yeah, why is that guy not on here?
You know, I'm gonna circle back to something that you just said earlier, which I'm kind of glad you said it, because it was exactly what I was talking about earlier. That when you go out there, you got to put your best foot forward, because you never know who's watching. And you said somebody came up to you and said, "Hey, I saw your match at XYZ. I need you to be a part of what I'm doing over here." So that's
Yeah.
another takeaway, independent wrestlers listening out there. No matter if there's 5 people in the crowd or 5,000 or 5 million, always put your best foot forward. You never know who's watching.
But you know where I got that from? Michael Jordan, actually. He told a reporter one time he always goes hard at every game because there's always one person in the crowd that has never seen him live. So like that's always my mindset too. And I'm sure you've seen it, Xavier, where like it'll be like 10 people in the crowd. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's go do this, this, and this. And like everybody else is like, no, we're gonna hold this headlock for 10 minutes. And it's like those are the type of shows I don't want to be on anymore. It's like I don't want to be like associated with like, you know, the type of wrestling that's just like, oh, these guys are only doing it for a payday. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
like,
there's a big difference from like protecting yourself and being like, like me, for instance. I'm not going to do a moonsault at every single show.
yeah,
I'm definitely not going to do a moonsault of just 10 people in the crowd. I'm sorry, 10 people in the crowd, but it's a move that's dangerous that I could hurt myself or somebody else on. So I kind of don't want to risk it in front of a crowd of maybe 10 people. But 10,000 or something like, yeah, definitely I'm going to bust it out. It's not just me being lazy. I'm still going to give you a good match, but it's just I'm going to cut some things out. But I'm not going to be lazy and be like, oh, I'm not doing nothing because there's 10 people here. No, those 10 people paid their money, so they're going to get their money's worth.
mm-hmm.
Right.
And like, there's too many people in the locker rooms that's like, oh man, I just need this payday. Let me just go do this real quick. Like, I always tell promoters. Well, I don't really tell promoters directly, but I tell people like I don't care about the payday. Like, I get paid enough with my shoot job that wrestling is just fun. And I tell promoters like that I travel for. I'm like, as long as you give me enough gas to get there and home, I really could care less like about extra money and all this craziness. Like, and I feel like some people are like, "Oh man, I need this extra money from wrestling," and it's like, then you have a really terrible life.
Yeah, that's something I was thinking about the other day. I was me and Xavier went to go see the Page movie, and I was actually thinking about that movie the other day just randomly, and I was just like, how it was a point in the movie, and people outside of wrestling have also always looked at some of the girls they had, like when they had the fitness models and all that different type of stuff, who got into the business and started wrestling or whatever they wanted to call it back then. But I'm like, wrestling isn't something that you just do to make money. You got to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, your longevity in it, you're gonna either take stupid risks that you shouldn't be taking, or you're just not gonna have fun with it. Because who wants to be involved in a car crash every day or every week or whatever like that? So it's got to be something that you're passionate about. It sounds like you are passionate about it.
Oh yeah, like wrestling, I'm really big on. Like, if I could take over somebody's school and just like train people, like I would have way more fun. I would stop wrestling like right now if I could just train people. Like, I feel like sometimes guys miss so many things, and like some trainers aren't in the wrestling ring anymore, like doing shows that like they miss stuff, or like the only shows they're doing are their own shows, and like just watching shows like recently, there's so many things where like guys don't even work the crowd, but they do 15 flips, and it's like. And I just told two guys, which I'm honored, I guess, that they asked my opinion. I watched a dark match up in Green Bay, and these two guys did all of this cool stuff, and you could hear a pin drop. And we were like, And I was just kind of looking like, and they were like, oh, how do you like the match? And I was like, oh, your moves were cool, but nobody cared because you didn't actually tell them to care. And
Right.
like that's one of those things. Like, so the group I'm in that I keep plugging, the DMM Dark Match Mafia, like we talk about that stuff all the time. Like we'll be sitting in a car or a truck or whatever, and we'll just be like, man, how are we gonna get the people to care today? Like, oh, let's do something silly, like low blow people. Let's do something silly, like sit a guy in the chair in the crowd and like do a flip on him, like something just where the crowd's like, oh man, that was cool. We can't see that everywhere,
Right. And going back to something Xavier Mustafa said about doing the moonsault in front of 10 people. So that means coming to Mondo Lucha this year, he's going to hit that 450 for you guys.
630, baby.
He's
Just like Ricochet hit the other day where he probably crushed somebody's ribs.
But anybody else got anything they want to hit him with? I think we lost Chris Black.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he mutes us on purpose. Like he knows what he's doing over there.
But if nobody else has anything, you got anything you want to plug? Any events coming up for you? Any appearances coming up for you? I know you keep talking about the Tennessee show.
Man, do I got appearances? This is about to be exciting. So March 30th, I'm doing the MEPW farewell show. Sadly, the promoter there, Will Powell, passed away recently. So, like a lot of us guys that kind of like went through his company are coming back and doing like a big farewell fundraiser type event. Then April 6th, I'm doing West Bend. It's called Wrestling for a Cause. April 13th, I'm doing Frozen Tundra Wrestling. April 20th, Legacy Pro Wrestling. April 27th, I'll be in Tennessee. May 4th, doing Frozen Tundra again. And then I've been invited to an award show on May 11th. So I'm not really sure. I think they won like Stable of the Year or something like that. So that'll be pretty cool, I think.
What's the Fed down in Tennessee that you're going to be working with?
I was actually about to look that up right now, but you like beat me to it, and now I'm in a rush. So thanks.
He's over there using an iPhone. It's kind of slow.
Ooh, whoa! I would never use an iPhone. You take that back.
Don't be disrespecting iPhone.
It's called Pro Wrestling Revolution.
Oh, I've heard of them.
It's in Paris, Tennessee. They're actually doing a benefit to raise money for autism. And oddly enough, it'll be myself and TC Washington teaming up down there. So that'll be fun.
So you're riding down there with TC Washington.
He rides down there with me because he falls asleep. So we should just go spin that around.
Just get a little bit of that Final Destination going on. Who just had the Pavlovian bell go off?
Well, me, I'm on mute.
No, that's always Mustafa.
I'm gonna go over there and hit him with a potato. But if nobody else has anything,
you just said he was gonna potato you.
You've been listening to Saturday Night SlamCasters. We've been joined by Skylar Reed. Check him out. He got a bunch
Hashtag DMM Dark Match Mafia.
Search for him on social media, Dark Match Mafia. You can also search Skylar Reed. Like I said, If you enjoyed this interview, please like, subscribe, and share with all your friends on your social media platforms. And be sure to seek us out on your podcast listening app of choice. And be sure to subscribe to Saturday Night SlamCasters. We'll holler at you guys. Come get slammed.